40 years ago today, on Friday the 22nd of July 1983, one of the most culturally significant television programmes of all time, and my favourite TV programme, The A-Team, was shown for the first time in the United Kingdom on the ITV network. As the country no doubt prepares for a day of national celebrations to mark that historic broadcast, and as real life has once again prevented me from getting the first chapter of my much worked on A-Team documentary series online, instead we get a terrible video of me talking to camera in a badly mic'd, badly lit room as I give a load of absolutely useless A-Team facts. I have to say I hate talking to camera. It's not my normal style. Normally I do a lot of fast cutting clips and narrate over the top. So I just wanted to get something out for today, so let's see what a disaster this turns into. But either way, that first episode was shown at 8:15 in the evening. ITV had promoted the series pretty heavily for the previous couple of weeks.
They lead the A-Team into a new all-action series next Friday on ITV. Watch out for the A-Team.
And that first broadcast pulled in 10.6 million viewers. As the ratings increased over the year, the popularity went up also as Mr. T hit the front of the TV Times. And the 4th of November episode, The Only Church in Town, from the second season, became the most watched episode in the UK of 1983, clocking up 14.6 million viewers. And the following year, the ratings increased even further, and the episode shown at the tail end of 1984, Showdown, which is the memorable episode with the imposter A-Team, that became the most watched episode in the UK of all time, pulling in 16.6 million viewers. And me being me, I have actually researched the most watched episode in the US, but I'm feeling mean, so I'm going to make you wait for the video series or the book that I'm writing until I give you that one. But either way, as I check my notes to see where I'm up to, because I'm not stopping, let's have a look at the TV Time listing for that week. As we can see here, as I cut in, as well as the listing for the episode, we've got a stock photo slightly badly cut over here. Further back we've got an article which, as well as a stock photo from Holiday in the Hills. We've got another very common first season shot here. These pictures were taken at the tail end of December 1982 during the production of the second episode of the series, The Rabbit Who Ate Las Vegas. If you know your A-Team, you'll know that in the pilot episode, Face was played by a different actor, Tim Dunnigan, after Dirk Benedict, whom the character was written for, failed his own audition, as he puts it. But these pictures here are stock first season shots, although in the US they did, when they promoted the episode, they did use a team shot featuring Tim Dunnigan. The following week on ITV, you could have either seen Pros and Cons at 9 p.m. or Black Day at Bad Rock at 7:30 p.m, depending where you lived, because in the old days of ITV regions, that's how it worked. Although, for much of the A-Team's first run episodes, they did network the programme because it was so popular, unlike things such as Knight Rider and Chips, which literally varied depending where you were in the country. The pilot itself, I've already posted some blog notes on it, and I should do some more in the video, but it was filmed in November 1982. It had been shown for the first time on NBC on January the 23rd, 1983, and by the time the series hit the UK screens, production on the first season had already finished in the States. The 9th of April had been the last filming day for A Nice Place to Visit, which is the last episode both broadcast and production-wise of the first season, and preparations were well underway already for the second season. And when ITV ran the programme in the UK, they went straight from the first into the early second season, so we caught up with them a little bit. As with most episodes, ITV had the rights to show the pilot up to 3 times. They repeated it again in August 1987, and some ITV regions chose their third option to show it in May 1994, when George Peppard passed away, and they showed it as a tribute.
Movie-length action and adventure with Peppard in his most popular TV role as Colonel Hannibal Smith. A tribute to George Peppard. The A-Team, today at 3.
By the way, I am saying Peppard correctly. The Brits tend to say Peppard, and certainly we've got a Peppard Common a few miles away from where I live. But in the case of George Peppard is correct, and indeed he was always correct, as he told people. It's kind of like Lance Legault. His name was written Lance Legault, and often people would say it that way, but it was Lance Legault. And Mr. T was just Mr. T, and no one dare argue with that really. So there you go. Where else have I got here? Let's see. When I first started this channel, as well as planning the book, which I've been planning for several years, and I'm really determined to get out sometime before the 50th anniversary, my idea for this YouTube channel originally was to pick my top 11 episodes of various TV programmes. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see down there it says up to 11, hence the title. And I was going to do a 20-minute overview for each programme, starting with the A-Team. But as I started to gather my notes and various things I've gathered for decades, literally back to writing down in pencil as a child, and scripts and production sheets and all sorts I've got over the years, I realised just how much I've gathered on the series, and most of that isn't recorded online as far as I know. So the project kind of grew. Originally I was going to get a video out for the 23rd of January, the US release, and that didn't happen. And I thought I'd get the first chapter when I broke it down, which is an hour long by the way in its current form. I was going to get that ready for today, and that didn't happen. So here we are, just rambling to camera, but I'm determined to gather these facts beyond the standard stuff that goes round and round, such as, do you know the upper half of the A-Team band isn't black? Well, I know that because I put that on Wikipedia myself some 22 years ago. Do you know that not all versions of the A-Team band have a sunroof? Well, yes, I know that because 6-year-old me used to rewind my off-air copy of the Bells of St Mary's and freeze frame it to examine the lack of sunroof, and on the roof you've got the reinforcement tape where Face's stunt double Norm Howell lands on the roof so he wouldn't fall through it, and for the rest of the series you can see that tape remaining in place. All the common stuff like that is pretty much out there and well known and goes round and round to different websites. I just wanted to gather more stuff really, more obscure stuff like early casting choices, the origins of names. Steve Cannell loved to take names of people he knew and such and adapt them. Certainly the character names, the origins of those I've covered. One of them's absolutely perfect, which is a rubbish hint, but anyway. We're going to look at things such as ideas for episodes which were written down but never turned into a script. We've got scripts that were written but never filmed. We've got things such as Scotty the Guard, who does appear in one episode, but it goes much beyond that. It goes beyond the A-Team. There's a whole backstory to him, and I've covered that, which is fairly interesting to people like me. So hopefully that'll be okay. And my main thing, which I'm really excited about, is the working title for the series, which I had to work really hard to track down. When Brandon Tartikoff at NBC gave Steve Cannell and Frank Lupo the bare bones idea for the series, originally Cannell hated the title The A-Team. He said it was too on the nose, in his words. He didn't like it at all, and briefly they did consider an alternate working title, which it seems Dirk Benedict, when he auditioned and didn't get the role, was at the top of his script. I think the other actors, I think Dwight Schultz had it on his as well, a briefly considered working title. And I kind of got wind of it a few years ago, but I needed to check the exact wording, and anyone who knows me will tell you I became obsessed with trying to track it down. I finally got it a couple of months ago, and I'm not going to tell you what it is right now. You'll have to buy either the book or watch the video series. Although, if I put it in the video series, you're not going to buy the book. I haven't thought that one through, really. But either way, that's the kind of things I'm going to put into the videos, and it'll be more than me just rambling away looking horrendous with my hair everywhere. Before I be quiet, let's turn my note sheet over for a final few notes on the A-Team, which no one in their right mind could care about. This is literally a last minute edition before I finally upload this video, otherwise it'd be the 23rd of July. By the way, the man you can see on the right here in this shot from the pilot, that's Joe Swirling Jr., the associate producer of the A-Team for its entire run, as well as most, if not all, other Cannell shows, including the Rockford Files. I just wanted to follow up on the rubbish hint I gave about Perfect. I'll share that one with you for now because that's possibly the favourite thing I found so far. This actually dates from the 1960s, when Stephen J. Cannell had just finished university. He'd got married to his wife Marcia, and he was working for his father Joseph in his furniture company. Joseph, by the way, his father, became Joseph Rockford in the Rockford Files name-wise. Again, Steve Cannell loved to rework names. And while Steve Cannell was doing that and trying to break into the writing business, his wife Marcia had joined a amateur dramatics group called the Assistants League 9 O'Clock Players. And you can see here shots from their October 1965 production called The Pale Pink Dragon. You can see Marcia Cannell here. Believe it or not, this is Hannibal the White Cat, As far as I can determine, this is the origin of the name Hannibal and how it came to Stephen Cannell's attention in the first place, later to be used in the A-Team.
Nice.
In some strange way, it seems even more apt considering both George Peppard and the original choice to play Hannibal, James Coburn, were both known in later life for their white hair. I think this is probably my favourite piece of A-Team related trivia that I've sourced for this project. As far as I know, it hasn't been recorded anywhere else ever. I don't think anyone else out of the immediate circle of production crew would even know of it, and I just wanted to share it with you on this special anniversary. Anyway, back to the final bit of me rambling on. Nice edit there, as I managed to knock things everywhere, but I'm not starting this again because I want to get this video out sometime today, and that's why I hate recording to camera. But either way, I've meant to say also, I've gone beyond the A-Team into the Cannell Extended Universe, as I like to call it, because he and the guys he worked with used to love, firstly he used to like taking people's names and putting them in episodes, and you can see the same names repeating themselves over and over, and you can see different ideas and scripts and lines appearing throughout his works, certainly the Rockwood Files in the early 70s. So much of that bled into his later programmes, including things like the A-Team, and I don't just mean Colonel John Howling Mad Smith, that's trivial, much deeper than that. Things like The Greatest American Hero, which buffed up production, just finished as the A-Team started. In fact, in one episode you can see one of the American Heroes doubles driving the A-Team van, and Babs Greyhosky has actually told me of an interesting link between the Greatest American Hero titles and the A-Team titles. One influenced the other, which again fascinated me, and I'm not going to tell you now because I'm feeling very mean. And even beyond the Cannell world, things such as Knight Rider and the A-Team didn't just share the cover of Look in one week. If we trace back, which I've done, they're kind of joined at the hip in so many ways. So I've gone into all that, and just useless things such as episode titles, working titles, which were changed before they hit the air. My favourite, I think, at the minute, I'm going to have to read it because it's so clunky I can never remember it. Lift Tab, Pull Forward, Push Back, which became Trouble Brewing, which I'm glad they changed because that's a horrendous title. Trouble in Wheels was first known as Full Throttle, but they decided to change that when they realised they could recycle some music from The Greatest American Hero. I've got a whole list of those and completely useless things which I shall bore you with hopefully in weeks coming up very soon. Either way, before I finally shut up rambling at a rate of knots, some final UK broadcast notes as I check where I am on my notes. Episode order in the UK, as with most imported stuff in those days, completely different order. Some of it was fairly close and other times it was really jumbled, but they did stick to episodes from the same season at least, with two exceptions, the first of which was Moving Targets, which has got postponed from its original slot and was eventually shown with the early fourth season episodes. And by the way, working title of that episode, Moving Targets, was originally known as Prey, and that's prey like hunting something, not prey as in God's sake get this video over with. And the other one was Judgment Day, which is the fourth season feature-length episode, but as it was a double-length one, they saved it for Christmas one year in amongst the fifth season episodes. And the final first-run broadcast of the A-Team, which, by the way, I think I said they had the rights to show up to 3 times. The final first-run episode was in 19th of December 1987 with the Crystal Skull, which ITV had kept postponing for some reason. It's an episode, I was looking for my tape to hold up like it makes any difference. The first and repeat airings of that episode were really hacked down because ITV, for some reason, didn't like its content. And they showed The Grey Team, which is the final proper episode, a few weeks earlier, and the sort of missing episode, Without Reservations, which didn't air in the States till May 87, I think, didn't reach the UK until the third run of episodes in the early 1990s, and not all areas got that, which is trivial now because we're going back 40 years. Either way, I'm going to shut up now because I've made a fool of myself enough. To mark this anniversary of the pilot, let's treat ourselves to something you won't see in any digital release nowadays or any broadcast because it's chopped out for copyright strike. I'm going to chance a small clip of it and probably get a copyright strike myself. This is Murdoch singing the Rolling Stones from the pilot episode of the A-Team. Oh, and by the way, just one extra thing quickly, because I'm feeling unusually generous. That most watched episode in the US was actually the second season episode, Water Everywhere. Although I've got to double check that one, so don't take my word for it just yet. And as for that working title, I'm still not going to tell you yet, so subscribe and stay tuned, folks. Right, I'll shut up now.